All right, this is our Religion and Philosophy 205 Introduction to Ethics. And I am Professor Martha Catherine Beck. I'm teaching the class asynchronously. The first students to take it are nursing students at Lyon, but the class can be offered in other contexts, but we'll see. But right now, for spring 2025, this is the asynchronous version. So the first thing I want to do is explain the Canvas site. So here we are on Canvas. The Intro to Ethics, scroll down a bit, and the first module has the syllabus on it. Here's the online syllabus. So let's go through it together. All right. So we have all the general policies, overall policies of Lyon. This is every syllabus has the same policies, and I think all of them have the same link at the top. The general information is that it's asynchronous. The class location is online. Office hours. Now, I am usually in my office from the afternoon until about 10 at night. You can always, students can email me. They can ask for a Zoom conference if they want to talk about the class. There are 4 times during the semester that they're required to meet on Zoom with me. 2 times are right before they finish the shorter papers. And then 2 times are to meet about their research paper and the progress that they're making. And I will show you when those times come, and they will be in the assignments and also announcements. You should check announcements each day. Okay, this is my office if you ever end up on campus, and this is my phone number, but it's much better to get me via email. All right, the course examines the place of ethics within philosophy and religion. We look at some of the major ethical theories and how they can be applied to contemporary issues. In this particular version of Introduction to Ethics, because it's required of exercise science majors, and also most of the students are anticipating careers in healthcare. So I focused this class on the notion, what is health? That particular contemporary issue. So we examine at the first third or so of the class, we examine the many ways that American society is making people sick, physically, mentally, socially, politically, and spiritually. And they're all interconnected. So that's one of the main themes of the class. We also start with Aristotle's model of the wise person as a model of complete health, complete flourishing. So when I describe that, which I will do probably in the next class, you should be able to figure out that if somebody had wisdom in that sense and they lived a life dedicated to the love of wisdom, they would be healthy in all these ways. The second section of the class examines major figures in the Western intellectual tradition. It shows how they laid the foundation for the situation that we're in right now. They during the Enlightenment, scientific revolution, industrial revolution, they created the ideas, the worldview that was driving the way society was structured. And that's what we have now. And it's it's making us sick. So that's the second section. The third section of the class is focused on philosophy of sport. So it starts out with the Olympic model of a sound mind in a sound body. That goes back to Aristotle again, but it just explains the Olympic ideal. And also I have a slideshow of Olympia. I spent many summers there in Olympia. And all the ways, then we have all the ways that the way the Olympics today is structured and is also affected by those same ideas from the Enlightenment. For example, one of the Enlightenment thinkers is Descartes. There's a chapter on how Descartes' philosophy, separating mind and body, has impacted our stereotypes about athletes, our ways of incorporating athletics and athletes into the other aspects of culture, and then also how that impacts the Olympics itself. In their final paper, students write on what is health, their own view of a completely flourishing human being and human society. Then they have to write about how they plan to live. And those who anticipate a career in healthcare will reflect on how they plan to treat their patients or clients better by focusing on a holistic understanding of their recovery and their ability to keep themselves healthy. So the patients or the clients or the athletes, whoever it is that come to you, that you have authority over as a healthcare expert, need you for something. But what I want to convince you is that the particular physical problem they have is tied to a much broader context. And as they go back, as they get cured, therapy for their particular issue, a good healthcare provider should explain to them how they need to live to stay healthy or to get healthier, or at least to avoid more sicknesses. Okay, I have 4 required texts. They are in the online bookstore. You can also get them used. They're cheaper. I always get used books myself, but there they are, and I think you'll find them. You need to have, especially the Empire of Illusion is assigned early on. What other one? Okay, the Empire of Illusion is the first one we need. The Hacking of the American Mind will come in a few weeks, and then Systems after that, and then Introduction to Philosophy of Sport is later on in the class. So if you can only order one book at a time, you start out with Illusion and then Hacking. Okay. Then what are your learning outcomes? Well, I want you to develop this very holistic view of health. But here are the general skills. Not only do you read something, when you're reading it, you have to explain how you understand it, what you think it means, describe in your own words what it is you read. And this is, you have to type it out. Give examples of how the ideas in the reading apply to a particular situation. And then also for every reading, their final paper is about what is health. They have to write at least a sentence or two on whether or not that day's reading, they're likely to put that in their final paper. Does this particular reading mean enough to me that I plan to put it in my final paper? The second one is your research paper and your final paper. The shorter papers too, but the quality of your papers. So they're all listed. There's a paper grade worksheet, and this looks complicated, but I just want to run you through it mentally. Every paper has a thesis. That's what a paper is. A thesis is a claim that's problematic. It's not like 2 + 2 is 4. You don't have to prove that in a paper. So it has to be something that you have to prove. And so then the argument is you have to support your thesis with a series of arguments. Each argument contains a premise, premises that support the point you're trying to make. There are textual references that support your thesis. You give examples. You give a fair description of the positions that are opposed to the position you have. Each one of your paragraphs should have a separate point, and they should follow logically in order in relation to each other. And then you have the grammar stuff. Now, this is why I require you to meet with me after you have an outline. And you can meet with me twice. You can say, I have no idea what I want to write. You can set up a Zoom meeting, and I'll ask you questions about, well, what did you gain from the reading? What stands out to you so far in the class? And that would be what you want to write about. So we can have a discussion of that. If you already figure out from the readings, this is what I want to write about, you write your thesis, you write how you think you're going to support it. Then you come to me because I will have suggestions. I've read the material a number of times, so I might be able to think of quotes off the top of my head or certain articles, or if I would say, oh, it's at the beginning of that reading or middle or end, I can help you out so you can have a better paper. So it is important that we have a dialogue about your papers. So the oral communication would be just when you meet with me about your papers. In respect to the content, I would like your ideas to be your own ideas, creative. You've put the material together in a unique way, and it's complex. So you've put together a whole lot of things into one thesis. It's related to something important. Obviously, health is important today. It'll show the power of ideas, the power of history and the way we think. That would be especially the second paper. And then why bad ideas are harmful and good ideas lead to creating better lives. So even in the first section of the class, the authors do talk about bad ideas that have led us to this problem with health and healthcare in the US. So that will always be an issue. In respect to religion and philosophy. So the religion and philosophy program at Lyon emphasizes the union of reason and faith. All liberal arts institutions that were founded by members of a certain denomination In Lyon's case, it's Presbyterian, but there were Catholic, Methodist. Originally, I'm not quite sure how many Baptist liberal arts schools there were. Episcopal was big. So all of them founded those schools because they wanted their future leaders to unite reason and faith. Otherwise, in the name of faith, you could say or do anything, and politicians could say or do anything and hide behind God. They did not want that. So then we have a very liberal view of what this union is. There's many different kinds of reasoning, and the focus of this class is not on faith per se, it's on flourishing. But you can compare the model of flourishing with what your own background, Hindu, Buddhist. I think all of those major traditions, those wisdom traditions, have the same underlying view of flourishing. So, and then Lyon's mission was to cultivate these characteristics of what's called a liberal mind, which would be a free mind. Intellectual honesty. So you're honest about what you know and what you don't know. You're committed to truth. Health is not entirely relative. It's not absolute black and white, like 2 + 2 is 4. But there is a range there of health and then lack of health. Fairness to opposing points of view. Patience with complexity and ambiguity. These are not cut and dried issues. They're complicated. That's why people disagree with so many of these issues. And tolerance of reasoned dissent. So somebody disagrees with you, but they have reasons, then you can just respond to that. So in your final paper, you do have to mention at the end, if you felt like the class or your experience at Lyon in general is cultivating these characteristics. Okay. The other more outcomes, you'll have intercultural knowledge, mostly about how the Western ideas and culture, American especially, has impacted non-Western nations, how it has in the past, the colonial era, but even today we are still exporting our economic system, our way of thinking, and it's doing a lot of damage in developing countries. Okay, students engage in integrative learning. They understand how the culture, scientific and medical communities impact and are impacted by economics, politics, art, music, literature, education, family life, religion, and philosophy. So you can't separate health from culture. So we'll learn about that. You become more reflective and deliberate about how you want to live and the example you want to set. And you can make more informed choices about what kind of civic engagement you want to focus on as you apply deeper understandings of human health in your lives as citizens. You need to think about the impact of your way of living on people throughout the world. How does what you eat affect other people and affect the climate, for example? What's your carbon footprint in the foods you ingest? Okay, my teaching technique is to educe, to draw out from students what the thoughts that are in their head, and then also to try and trigger them to start thinking more, reflecting more, synthesizing more, bringing together what they read with how they live. All right. So what do you get graded on? First of all, you need to hand them in time, and you have to write a post for each day and put two, when you have a Tuesday and Thursday, you put two posts together for the week, and then you hand it in on Friday. So I have all the due dates and times listed on the assignments. Each post includes this, okay? You type this in, your outline of the reading. Doesn't have to be long, but you have to show me you read it. Two questions or comments about what is most important to you in that reading, and at least two comments about how this reading connects to previous readings. So what I've done is taken a lot of books, trade books, books from many different professions and disciplines. They're the kinds of books that educated citizens should want to read. So I want to try and teach you how to become an educated citizen. And so you can't just read books. You have to figure out, well, how does what this person say connect to what that person says? And how can I keep building up what all these people say to develop a comprehensive view of how I should live my life and what's going on around me in the world? Okay, the minimum number of words is listed on the assignments. Okay, so that's the post. Okay, so you have outline of the reading, the two comments. Okay, so I said that. I guess I said it twice, but it's worth it. Write down if there's anything you think you will put into your final paper on what is health. Okay. You have two non-research papers. The due dates will be in the announcements. I think they're on the assignments page. The first one is about how does American society undermine health, which by the time you get done reading 3 or 4 weeks of readings, I think you'll have plenty to say. The next one is what worldviews continue to control American society? How have they been used to structure our societies in ways that affect our health? For better or worse, that's the power of ideas. And then your research paper. This is each one of you picks a topic that they want to do research on. So they do have to come and talk to me about their topic and about what articles they're going to use to explore this particular research topic. And I can probably make suggestions. But anyway, some of the quotes are from our class readings, some from outside sources. The key here is that you have to convince me. You have to write it in a way that the person writing it had to have taken this class, because obviously we're having trouble with ChatGPT. I've had kids that just seems like the whole paper is lifted, but most of the time students don't do that. They'll copy a paragraph and then insert another paragraph with some of the class readings, but it's just a cat and mouse game. So I don't want to go there. What I want to do, I won't accuse you of ChatGPT, but what I'll say is you didn't convince me that it's not. So you must write it in a way that can convince me, the reader, that you didn't lift it from somewhere else. Speak in your own voice, okay? So that's that. Then the final paper is what is health or human flourishing? How has your view changed and why? And you will present this during our scheduled final exam. Now, again, on Zoom, you can schedule a time to meet during final week. All right. And then it should include your reflections on the main objectives for the class and also the union of reason and faith. Um, okay. Late papers or posts, you could have legitimate reasons. I assume that you will if it is late, because I trust the students and I know you already have a full-time job. So I understand that. It's just that you have to let me know. Then, if you're going to major or minor or PH, you have to keep a portfolio with some of the materials from this class. Then this is how I consider the time commitment. Now, at the beginning of the post, I would like you to write down how much time you spent um, on the assignment, okay? So that I have an idea. So most students spent 2 hours or less. And then every once in a while, they have to write a paper. So I figure if it's 2 hours or less and a paper, periodically, that's about 2.5 hours per hour of class. And that is what you're supposed to have a 40-hour week studying. I understand there are many other demands of your time, but that's I deserve it. Academics need to have a place in your schedule, and I understand how hard it is for students to get it all in, but I'm still not going to start out by cutting the readings and things like that. The honor code policy is that you should make sure you know what plagiarism is. And then I have some of my own specifics. When you refer to books in the class, you can do a very easy citation. And you can discuss your ideas with other members of the class. If there are other nursing students that you want to Zoom, that's fine. It's just that when you sit down to write it, your thesis should be your own. And then I will have these dates in by the time the semester starts. I will have them on the syllabus. Okay, and then there's all the other services that you can get at Lion. And I hope you take advantage of them because they're worthwhile. They're important. Okay, so that's the syllabus. And I will take a break here just to let you process that.